Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to join us for the AAPIRC and Career Success event, Finding Success in the Virtual Workspace. Today's panelist features recently graduated UCSC alumni, some of whom you might recognize, and this is sponsored by the Student Alumni Inspiring Leadership program through AAPIRC. So before we get started, I would like to share accessibility for you all. So at the bottom of your Zoom panel, we have live transcript available if you would like captions for the Zoom event. So you will be able to see the captions and also the live transcript view if you'd like. And then I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Hi, my name is Erica. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the lead interns for the Asian American Pacific Islander Resource Center here on campus. In addition to that, I also work at the Career Center, or the Career Success team, as one of the divisional liaisons for the social sciences. In addition to that, I also work at colleges 9 and 10 at the activities office as a programs assistant, putting on fun programs for you all. And in addition to that, lastly, I'm also a tour guide here at the university, and that's one of my favorite jobs too. So I love all the jobs that I have, and I'm excited to be part of both of the centers here presenting today, AAPIRC and the Career Success team. And I will now go ahead and pass it over to my co-moderator, Chloe.
Hi guys, I'm Chloe. I'm a second year MC bio major, and I'm a peer career coach at the UCSC Career Center. I'm really excited to be here with you all today.
Thanks, Chloe. And then Chloe, do you mind reading the land acknowledgement?
Yeah, of course. So before we begin, we'd like to do a land acknowledgement. So the lands on which we gather here today is the unceded territory of the Awaswa speaking UP tribe, the Ama Matsun tribal band comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken to Mission Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma.
Thanks, Chloe. Now let me get my panelists up here and see if I can do this quickly. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. One more. Awesome. Okay. Oh, I forgot myself. Hold on. Okay. Now I have everybody. Wait, nope. One more person. So sorry. I forgot Chloe. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, wait, you already spotlighted. Okay, great. So side-by-side speaker. Perfect. Thank you, behind the scenes folks. Okay, so welcome everybody. Now I will now go ahead and introduce our panelists today. First up, our panelist Evan Nguyen is a 3-year film and digital media 2020 graduate. At school, he participated in the Film Production Coalition and worked as a lifeguard at AAPIRC, or now as known as the Athletics and Recreation Department, and also swam with the Masters Club there too. Over the past year, he has been doing some freelance film work and also has been teaching himself how to mix music. He plans to move to Los Angeles this summer to work in film and/or music and audio. So welcome, Evan. Thank you so much for taking your time and being here with us. Up next, our panelist, Carolyn Tang. Carolyn graduated UCSC in 2020 and has been working as a medical assistant at an ophthalmology practice since 2021. During college, she worked as a medical assistant at a sobriety clinic and was an intern for Hospice of Santa Cruz. She currently is applying to medical school for the class of 2026. That's exciting, Carolyn. Thank you so much for being here as well. Next up, we have Louisa O. Louisa graduated from UCSC in June of 2020, majoring in sociology and minoring in education. She's a College 10 affiliate and was part of Bayanihan for all 4 years of college, even serving on the leadership team for 2 of those years. Right now, Louisa is an ABA therapist with ACES, which is the Autism Comprehension Educational Services, and hopes to move on to graduate school soon to obtain a master's in education. Thanks, Louisa, for also being here today. And last but not least, we have Kent Shin. Kent graduated UCSC in 2020 with a bachelor's in science in environmental science. Originally, Kent was planning to work for the water district at Scotts Valley, but unfortunately, the opportunity was closed with COVID-19. Currently, Kent works in audio video freelancing, mainly as a colorist and a sound engineer. Kent is the definition of bounce back and pivot during the time of COVID. Thanks, Kent, for being here. All right, so thank you all again. Please share as much as you liked today during our panel discussion. I will now lead you guys into your first question. So first question for y'all is, what tools did you use to navigate the virtual job hunting process? And we'll start off with Kent first.
Hi, everyone. So like you've heard, I do freelancing video audio work. And what that usually entails is talking to people who would want to hire me. And I would say my work comes from two main sources. It's 50% people I already know and who pass on my name to other people who would be interested. And the other 50% are people who like completely don't know me, but I find them through the internet. And I find them in places in like social media groups or forums or stuff like that, that they need like, hey, we need this position filled. And then I would go try that out. So that's roughly what my, how my job searching has been kind of looking like.
Thanks, Kent. That's really helpful insight there. I'll now pass it over to Evan.
Hello. So I graduated last summer, and I initially wanted to find just a full-time job in film because that's what I graduated with. I used basically every job site, you name it, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, entertainmentcareers.net. I've reached out to people I know, people that like friends and family knew, just to talk and get my name around. Unfortunately, I wasn't as successful. I'm still at home, and I've been working at just like Target since then, just for the money while I've been doing remote stuff. I had a remote internship for a while. It was unpaid, and I just left it because it wasn't really going anywhere. And like Ken, I've been doing a couple freelance things. I just found people on like Nextdoor, and as a freelancer, you're obviously not becoming a full-time or part-time employee with someone just posts like, hey, they need a video or something for their business, and they hire you real quick, you make it, you get paid for it. Just done a couple of those. But for me, virtual and remote working didn't really work out too much, and so I'm kind of just planning to move out to LA soon and just try to meet people that way and just be in person, because a lot of jobs for LA and film, if you look online, like job application websites, they want you to be there immediately. Even though I've advertised myself as willing to relocate, people definitely just would rather you already be there. So that's my experience.
Yeah, thank you, Evan. That's definitely a struggle I think a lot of us are experiencing right now with COVID. It's really, really hard to navigate. So we appreciate your thoughts on that. I'll pass it over to you, Carolyn.
Hello. So I also graduated in 2020. I actually took some time off of school, like once I graduated, to study for the MCAT. So I wasn't actively looking for jobs straight out of college. But then I, like Evan, used like everything like ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and all these other things. It's a little difficult with medical practices. I felt like with COVID, they kind of limited how many people they needed if you weren't essential. So if you weren't like working in like clinics that like specifically worked with COVID, they weren't actively hiring. Or if they were looking for people who were really, really qualified. So it took me a while. It took like me and 8 other friends that I had just sending in like hundreds of applications just to get a job. And then I ended up hearing back from 2 clinics, but I want to say I started applying in September and I didn't start working until March. So it took a few months to land a job. And then even then they had multiple interviews. One job had me come in 3 times, I think, for an interview before they were able to even offer me a decision. So yeah, I would just say if you're working in like the medical field, at least, if you have any licensing, put that on your resume, because I have an EMT license, so I did that. I'm currently a medical assistant, and some places want you to be a certified medical assistant, and some people do not require that. So I think you need to like separate whether or not that's something that's like qualified for that if you're doing that. But yeah, I just basically went on to like Indeed and ZipRecruiter. I even used Handshake and tried to just send out as many applications as possible. Yeah.
Thanks, Carolyn. That's definitely the grind, is sending out as many applications as possible. So thank you for sharing that with us. And then last but not least, Louisa.
Hey y'all. Yeah, similar to everyone else, I like used a lot of platforms and just tried to like apply wherever I could. I think like for me personally, it was hard because my major was super broad, so I could really do anything. So I was like actually like really lost right after I graduated. But I would say like the 2 main resources that definitely helped me with the job hunt was obviously LinkedIn, which I think is really great for creating connections and especially for finding alumni on the website. I think that's a really cool feature, and you should definitely take advantage of that, because since LinkedIn's not like a social media website per se, it's like more professional. Like if you see you're both like alumni from UCSC, it's like a connection you already have, and they won't be weirded out if you message them. So yeah, it's just my one piece of advice I have for y'all. And another is actually the alumni advising office. Like I said, I was like super lost after graduating, and I spent a really long time looking for a job. But like I booked an appointment with an advisor, and they really helped me out and talked to me through the process, and like really reassured me that there's really no rush to finding like your first job straight out of college, and like it doesn't have to be like a life-changing job either. And that's something they like really reiterated. And a really cool resource they actually directed me to is a website called whatcanidowiththismajor.com. So if you're also feeling like you're unsure of what you're going to do right after you graduate, I would definitely suggest like going on that website and seeing what you could do with your major, because it could give you like a really long list of jobs that you never thought you could actually do with your degree. So then, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really helpful, Louisa. Thank you. If someone, Tia, you are right on it. Thank you. I was literally about to say, if someone wants to drop that link in the chat for our graduating students right now, thank you. Yeah, before I pass it over to Chloe for the next question, I want to ask our audience members, our attendees today, even if you're not necessarily graduating this quarter in like 2 months from now, what is a job that you're hoping to get post-college? What industries or fields, career fields are you interested in? So our panelists can see that in the chat and kind of see what our folks here are looking for today. And I'll go ahead and pass it to you, Chloe.
Oh, before I start, I just want to say that yeah, what can I do with this major is a great resource. But if you want to, because I think you have to like pay for access, but UC Santa Cruz, like the Career Center gives you access through that. So if you like look on the Career Center website, you can get access to what can I do with this major. Cool. So the second question that we have is, what have you guys done to build connections and find community at your workspace while onboarding virtually? Evan, if you want to start us off with that, that'd be great.
Sure. Like I said before, a lot of my time during last summer was just talking to people who are already successful working in the industry, people I've met through friends and family. Unfortunately for me and in film, a lot of people I talked to were still very confused about what the state of the industry was, if because a lot of things closed down, things like studios, people hiring, not as much for TV shows and stuff like that. But like Louisa said, alumni, finding alumni through social media or LinkedIn especially is really cool, because everyone puts their information on LinkedIn, like regarding like where they went to college, where they've worked. You see their whole career path starting from when they graduated to where they are now. Another resource that I found really helpful was actually Facebook. You can join a lot of Facebook groups, and they can be very small. Like I live in San Diego, and I am a part of a couple San Diego filmmaking Facebook groups. They're very specific, small, not like thousands of people, maybe like a few hundred, but still big enough where a lot of connections can circulate around between people. And I've actually had people reach out to me for some freelancing jobs, like being a production assistant on very small sets, just small things like that. Like Louisa said, it doesn't have to, your first job doesn't have to be super life-changing or super, this is the only job I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. It can be small things like that. As a lot of people will tell you, those small gigs here and there will just get your name around, get you connections, and also get you experience and also money sometimes too if they pay you. So that's my experience there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I definitely think that like getting small jobs just to get started is a great way to really like get your foot into your field. Carolyn, if you want to go next, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So my workspace is in person because I work at a medical office. But honestly, I would just reach out to anybody. This is particularly just me. Before, when I was a little uncertain whether or not I would like be able to find a job, I just wanted like extra clinical experience, since that's the field that I want to go into. And I literally messaged like my previous pediatrician asking if I could just shadow her or if she like knew other people. I really think that the first step is just like reaching out. I think it's really difficult and scary because like people always have all these titles or like whatnot, and then you're like afraid. And I think more people are willing to help out than you realize. Because my pediatrician was like super, like she was super kind, and she was like, yeah, of course, like just let me know what you want. But even like in person, if you manage to have that, just having the connections with the people that you're currently working with, and just like getting to know them better. I actually don't use LinkedIn, so I can't speak for that. But I honestly think if you just reach out to some people, they'd be willing to help. And the Career Center, obviously. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely think that like making connections with people you know is the best, well, one of the ways you can do it. Louisa, you want to go next?
So I also actually work in person, but I guess it's a little more lonely because I go to my client's house and it's just me and his mom. And so like I don't really have like an office per se to like work with people. So what am I trying to say? Sorry. But I guess my piece of advice is like to definitely take advantage of the spaces that like your supervisors or your company provides for you. Especially since like even though I do go in person, like everyone else in the company is still like virtual. Like my supervisor, I only see her like once in a blue moon. I've never met a lot of the other people. I've never physically met a lot of the other people I like have to work with. So yeah, just definitely take advantage of those because my supervisor has provided other like behavior therapists in like the San Jose, Santa Cruz area with something called a base group. And like, it's just a place where we can ask questions about ABA therapy or check up on each other and stuff like that. And it's really nice to be able to like connect with these folks I've never met, but like we're all on the same page. And so that like kind of creates a small community in itself. And then my other piece of advice was to just like connect with your supervisors if you end up having one. Like I said, she comes in once in a blue moon, but I don't get to see her like, but like, yeah, most of the time she's just virtual. So just getting to take advantage of her presence whenever she is there, like either there virtually or like in person definitely helps create a connection. And it kind of like makes it feel as if like COVID never happened too. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you like got to connect with like your peers, like regardless of it was virtual or like in person. Ken, if you want to finish us off.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm actually going to go on a slightly different path, but I agree with everyone else who's talked so far. Is that you need to be talking to people. But I do have kind of an interesting experience that happened right out of college. So my main two methods, well, actually, I think what I want to emphasize first is you should be putting yourself in spaces where the people you want to work with are also there. You just get more opportunities thrown in your direction if you hang out with the people, with those types of people, right? So when coronavirus first broke out, I was working two jobs. I was working as a live sound engineer and a recording engineer. But of course, when live events are banned, I can't work. So my friend who worked at Office Max, he was the manager there. I hit him up and he said, "Yeah, sure, they'll take me on," because I had a feeling it was going to last pretty long. And well, I was kind of right. But anyway, so I worked at Office Max. What I didn't expect, just keep floating, just retail money, whatever, pay bills. What I didn't expect is it was an interesting networking area, because one thing I managed to like do was I would talk to a lot of the customers that would come in. And of course, these would be like business type people. And I could actually kind of gauge the state of industries based on, just kind of talking to them and saying, "Oh, hey, how's this going?" Or, "Hey, how that's going?" And then, you talk to them and you'd be like, "Oh," and you kind of can see where the job opportunities will be coming and going. And I actually managed to land one there. When I happened to like comment about a hard drive, turned out he did like this live stream show thing, which I don't work with him currently. It didn't work out, but that brought me back to other people who knew him, right? So it's this really long chain of networks that you just got to be genuine about what your passion is. And if you put yourself with those types of people, you're just increasing the odds that something will fall in your direction that will work out.
Yeah, that's great. That I'm so glad that you got that connection, even though it didn't end up working out. But like, you never know where an opportunity can come up, So I just want to pass it over to Erica for the next question.
Yes, thanks, Chloe. Okay, so our next question for our panelists is, how did your academic experience help you in finding your first job? What types of opportunities did you look for during your time at UC Santa Cruz that has helped you post-graduation? For example, was it your academic program, your internship, other things? And we'll start off with Carolyn.
Okay, so I was a human biology major at UCSC. And so in order to graduate, it's required to do an internship. And so I did my internship with Hospice of Santa Cruz, and I think that really helped when it came to like the medical field, at least, because I got to put that I was like a companion intern. I'm at a hospice, which is like being clinical in it with itself, whether or not I like didn't have other clinical experience or not, but that was a full year commitment. And so that was like really helpful, at least getting my foot into the door with the clinical experiences. And then let's see. Oh, also for human biology, we was mandatory for take Spanish, and so especially medical Spanish. So that was also really helpful. When you speak another language, at my clinic, everyone speaks a different language. We have Russian, Ukrainian, Cantonese, Mandarin, Spanish, Tagalog. Is that how you say that? I think. We have Vietnamese. Like we have like all different types of languages. At least as a clinic, we try to cater to like everybody. We don't want to turn anyone away just because we can't speak their language. So that was like super beneficial, taking medical Spanish at least, so that I'm not the best, and they're definitely fluent people. But at least to just like communicate slightly or just like ask like really simple things. And also, I mean, at UCSC, I knew that I wanted to go to medical school. So there was an EMT program. It's not necessarily partnered with UCSC, but there are people who from UCSC who go there. And they have a sister program in Berkeley who have a lot of like UC Berkeley students who also go there. It's called Deep Fib this if anyone wants to go. But I was also able to do that. And I believe there is an emergency, like an EMT club on campus that I did not get to join, but they have one there so that you could also like get that because my license also helped me get my sobriety clinic job in the first place that I had when I was at UCSC. So yeah.
That's great. That's great to hear. Before I move on to the other panelists, I do want to ask if you can expand, Carolyn, for students who are interested in going into the medical field, how might they, how might they get into being bilingual or trilingual without having that medical Spanish program that we have for human bio majors? What are your recommendations for those students?
Well, let's see. So like at least my like native language, or not like my language that my parents speak, that's how I like picked up that in the first place. Spanish I'm still not very good at actually. I honestly think that if you're really interested in learning a language, especially in California where like or the Bay Area where Chinese and like Spanish is very spoken, I had friends who spoke Spanish and that's how I would like practice at school. And my sister actually like taught herself Korean, and how she did that was like learning the alphabet, and then like she had a friend who spoke Korean, and like that's basically she forced herself to speak it. So I think if you really wanted to learn, either find a friend who would speak it with you and kind of teach you. There's also a lot of like programs online who would be able to teach you. I think it's very it's easier at least online these days to try to find resources and even like little textbooks, because I believe I have some textbooks from when I used to go to Chinese school, and like that can just teach you how to at least get the basics. I think that's the hardest part. And even some of the doctors at my office, they don't even, one of them at least doesn't fully speak Spanish, but over the years she's learned, just like taught herself how to speak just the basics. So I work in an ophthalmology practice, so it's eyes related. So she just taught herself how to say like left, right, and like what eyes are, and like just like little really simple questions. And I'm kind of doing that with myself with Spanish, just because I don't really know how to say more medical terms like blurry vision. Like I have no idea how to say that. So I'm just kind of like teaching myself how to say, or like at least speaking to other people to just learn at least the terms that I would need at that practice so that it would be easier and I can communicate with them. So I just self-teach yourself. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really great. A lot of self-advocacy and learning these second and third languages. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but we have two people here in film and digital media, Evan and Kent, and then Louisa working in social services. Have the three of y'all felt that maybe being bilingual or learning another language is helpful and makes you stand apart from other applicants in your fields?
I guess I'll go first on that. Absolutely, because I think like the more skills you have, the better. I think nowadays job recruiters are really looking for like diverse skill sets. Like they want to see like you be able to do a little bit of everything, because then you could like, or I'm assuming it's because so they can help like a bigger pool of people rather than a smaller pool. So yeah, I think like taking some time to build up like a variety of skills would be super awesome.
I'll say something too. Throughout my time looking at applications, there are always going to be people in the film industry who are looking for translators to do subtitles. I've seen like, you need to learn Korean to be able to work with us because we need a Korean translator. Or it's not just languages, but very niche skills will get you a long way. I have a friend who's making a film and he has to film his cat doing a bunch of things. And that's a skill that you learn and will be useful because people film animals in the industry. You know, you've seen like all those kid movies where they have to film animals, but being able to handle animals and direct animals, it's a really weird niche skill, but people definitely look out for that. So.
All right. So personally for me, I don't think I've ran into a workplace situation, or let me rephrase that, a job application situation where really it impacted me speaking or not speaking multiple languages. But I do want to say that if you do speak multiple languages, it's just a useful life skill, because there are times when I was at work, not necessarily part of the application, I was doing something, or in life, where someone does not speak English. And in that case, other languages would be useful. Like two examples I remember. I worked a horrible show, and I knew the cleanup staff afterwards. And we tried our best to clean it up, but the guests were really rude and we couldn't do it. This, keep in mind, the gig started at 10 a.m. It was supposed to end at 12. We were there after 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. and we're just like, we have to give up. We have to let the cleanup staff get to it, unfortunately. So I had to write an apology letter to them in Spanish. I remember that we were so pissed off at the guests. And then the other one was more recently, it was Office Max, right? Sometimes I would get Spanish speaking customers, and I would have to talk to them in Spanish to understand what the heck they need. So personally for me, not application based related, but just good life skills.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you all for sharing that and following me on this tangent. Back to the original question and to the next person who's going to answer, Luisa. I'll just repeat the question for everyone. How did your academic experience help you in finding your first job? What types of opportunities did you look for during your time at UCSC that has helped you post-grad? And then I'll put that question to you first, Luisa.
Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I did not really like go seeking opportunities, and I didn't have an internship either. But I will say during my time at Santa Cruz, there were two main experiences I had. One was from my second year. I took this class called Kresge Service Learning. I don't remember what the number was, but that one was basically they like forced us to volunteer at different places. And we just had to like fulfill a certain number of hours, and that was like the entire class. And the primary place I volunteered at was Bayview Elementary School. And like I knew I wanted to do it because I've been working with kids for a long time, but most of it was just camp counseling, and like I wanted to kind of like go towards an educational direction to see what that was like. And I think that was like one of the first like key points for me, because a lot of the kids I worked with in the after school program, they weren't like very confident in their academic abilities. And just being that one adult, like, or one of the few adults there that was like rooting for them and telling them like, oh, you can do it. It was really nice to see their like confidence shine. And it was also inspiring for me. So I was like, wow, like it's nice to make an impact on somebody and help shape someone as they grow. And then another was very similar with Education 180, where they also required you to do classroom volunteering hours. And so that was like a little bit different because you were working with the teacher, and then you're suddenly working with like 25 kids. And I was in a kindergarten classroom, and it was kind of the same, where it was like they were much younger than the kids I worked with at Bayview, but it was nice to kind of also set them up for success and like teach them like, oh, this is how school works. Like I know it's hard, but you can do it. And like honestly, both of those have helped me like shape how I do my job now, which is similar with which is working one-on-one with my client and like just teaching them basic life skills and just rooting them on, setting them up for success and helping them become like the person they want to be as they grow older.
That's great to hear, Luisa. I'm glad that those two classes really shaped your experience and was able to help you with your first job finding. So thank you. Next up is Kent.
All right. So I'm gonna split it off again because my story kind of took a turn at 2020. Well, I guess didn't all ours. So in terms of environmental sciences, I liked UCSC. I met a professor in my senior year that I got really interested in his research, and it was water, and specifically groundwater recharge. And I wanted to work for the water district because I found it very interesting. And unfortunately, that didn't work out. But in terms of not strictly academic stuff, I also did internships while I was there, and just kind of diversifying my scope of knowledge. Now, if we move over to audio and video type stuff, I was also part of FPC with Evan as well, and I also took that fairly seriously. Instead of just being a club, I understood that if I wanted to do that as well, and I was already working in it, and I have been for quite some time, I started trying to freelance when I was in high school. Um, so I already kind of understood how the market was kind of going. And I realized that during my time in university, I have a lot of equipment that's I'm able to access, and I should use that to really learn about the equipment and really learn my skills, and most importantly, produce material that I could send to people and be like, wow, you're good. I want to hire you. So, in terms of that, the organizations at UCSC, I would highly recommend you take advantage of. They are really cool. And the more I actually spent in FPC, I was actually more sad to realize all the cool stuff we did have, but I never just got around to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kent, for sharing that. Appreciate that. There's definitely a lot to take advantage of if you're in the film and digital media major here at UC Santa Cruz. Definitely joining the Film Production Coalition, and also little plug, and also being able to take advantage of the equipment rentals that the department offers as well. So many opportunities there. Thank you for that. Pass it to you, Evan.
All right. I don't have a good answer for this question specifically, and so I might go off because I don't think I had a direct correlation between my academic experience and how successful I am in finding a job. I wasn't really one to talk to professors and try to get my foot in the door that way, or talk with like other students in my major in my classes. But what I did find out from my time in college was that you do pick up a lot of very useful skills here and there. And a year after graduating, I realized like, oh, these kinds of things that I do now, I learned because I was in school. For example, being in the Film Production Coalition, you get to learn hands-on how a set works and the whole process between pre-production, production, and post-production. And so when I was doing my freelance work, I had to recall to how those processes worked back in college. Like when I needed to film something, you need to have a shot list, storyboard, map everything out. Like Kent was saying, you need certain pieces of equipment to be able to do your job. And those kinds of things I learned because I was in connection with the Film Production Coalition with people who had similar goals of wanting to produce professional things. And so we did things in a very professional manner. And in hindsight, that was very helpful. Another example is while I was working as a lifeguard, our boss was huge on communication, writing emails, and that's definitely a skill amongst a lot of other general skills that will help you in any kind of job. Being able to write a good email in a timely manner within business hours, of course, because the last thing you want in your business is someone who doesn't reply to your emails as often or just doesn't give very potent emails or information. And obviously that's very unprofessional. And then when it comes to you, you have to also make an unprofessional move to have to reach out to them, whether it's outside of business hours through DMs, like, hey, why aren't you responding to us? That kind of stuff. Also just like things in class where you have to give a presentation on a project. That's definitely a skill that happens everywhere. It's not just in the classroom, in the college. We've been doing that throughout middle school, high school, college. And why is that? It's because people do that in the real world in their real jobs. So even though I wasn't very proactive in trying to find a job or an opportunity through my academic career in college, you do have skills that you pick up along the way that will hopefully become useful eventually.
That's great advice, Evan. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely echo you on being able to write a good email and, kind of stick with that response, but, not be pestery, but also just kind of like keep being persistent when they don't want to email you back. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I'll pass it to you, Chloe.
Yeah, and I just really wanted to go quickly over what Evan said. I think that's a really important point to make, because whenever people come to the Career Center, a lot of the time they're like, oh, I don't really have any work experience, and that's totally okay, because all the experience that you've had in school can totally apply to different jobs, or a retail job, all these things, communicating with people, working with others, are all skills that you need in the workplace regardless of where you work. So I think it's okay if you don't have any work experience, because you're gaining skills in just being at school and being in clubs and things like that. Yeah, so for the last question, it's going to be what is your biggest takeaway and piece of advice to the graduating class this year? Many here are also navigating the virtual job space for the first time. And if Louisa, you could start us off, that'd be great.
The biggest thing I do have to say is it's totally normal to feel overwhelmed, or you have no idea what you're doing right after you graduate, because if I'm being honest, most of us don't know what we're doing after we're done with school. Yeah, definitely that what now feeling is very prominent, and we all know that there's this really high expectation that you're supposed to find a job or perfect career right after you're done with school. But in reality, that's there's really no rush. Take your time, find something you're truly passionate about. No one is pressuring you. I know maybe sometimes you would think your family's constantly asking you when are you gonna find a job? But there's really not that much pressure. Take your time with it. And again, there's lots of great resources that you could use right now, such as advising, or using alumni advising right after you graduate to help you steer you in the right direction. And last thing is, since the job hunt is virtual, it can seem really tiring and endless. So definitely just keep track of what you're looking for. Keep tabs on the jobs you're interested in, keep tabs on the ones you've applied for, and then keep tabs on which ones have emailed you back or responded. And just don't give up hope. You'll get there eventually. It's just going to take some time. And don't be afraid to try something new, because you could totally pick out a job that has nothing to do with your major, or something you've never even considered. I personally never even considered ABA therapy, and I didn't even know what that was when I graduated. So it could open up a totally new path for you, and maybe you'll love it.
Thank you so much. I definitely think that's really reassuring to hear, because it's just so uncertain sometimes. Kent, if you want to go next.
All right. So there's a couple of things, and they're kind of related to each other, that I want to say as well, that I think it's really easy as a person to get yourself in this mental state where oh, I just graduated, now I need a job, I have a degree, I'm qualified, I need this, I need that. And then when things aren't working out in your favor, you start to lose heart. And I really want to emphasize the idea that failure and the feelings of stagnation, those are normal, and I don't think they're ever going to go away. For me personally, when I'm trying to find jobs, right? I make it seem simple, right? Oh, I just talk to people and they'll give me money. And to be honest, percentage wise, I would say 99% of the people I try to reach out to doesn't ever lead to anything significant, right? So if you're feeling that, I think what I want to say is that's okay. Just keep trying if you think it's worth trying for. And the other thing I also want to say is I agree, you should maybe try things that are different or new, or things you didn't expect. I've recently moved away from a mentality where for my, and I think we grew up with this, for my happiness, I need to have this specific job. That's a mentality I've moved away from. And I kind of shifted it. I shifted it to, these are things I enjoy in life, and they're very broad things. And these are things I'm passionate about. So if I could work somewhere along those lines, then I think I'll be okay. And I think one of the things I really like is I like making people enjoy life. I like entertaining people. I like creating things that, you know, other people will enjoy. Keep in mind that's not specific to audio video. That's the entire field is based off of that, but that's my thinking. And with that, you know, I feel like a lot you mentally open yourself up to a lot more opportunities that way and things that you might have not taken otherwise. So yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Kent. Yeah, I think it's so important to not base your entire like self, like sense of self on finding a job at all times, because sometimes you just can't, and it's important to like step away sometimes. Evan, if you want to go, that'd be great.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kent. Like you hear all these people like us saying, all you gotta do is just reach out to a lot of people and get connections and stuff. But Kent has like a 1% success rate. He said 99% of the times it didn't go anywhere. And so instead, like finding something that will make you happy, and in Kent's case, make other people happy, is important. Because like I'm not really into film anymore. I've been trying to do like music and trying to learn how to make music because that's a lot of fun. It's not making me money, and money is really important, especially if you have to pay off student loans and that kind of stuff. Um, but I think even though it's been a year after COVID, we still got time to grow and still learn about how to find a job, because virtual and remote working is not for everyone. I am definitely someone who just wants to be in person where all the action's happening. In our case, LA, for like film and that kind of stuff. So yeah, also another piece of advice is if you are going to rely on a lot of virtual applications, like sending bunches of applications through LinkedIn, Indeed, that kind of stuff, you will run into a lot of people who will try to scam you for a job. I have a couple examples. Like for one example, someone just reached out to me randomly on LinkedIn. It wasn't through an application, just some random guy who said, hey, I'm offering $130,000 a year for you to edit videos for us. And whoa, that like after a whole year, that'll pay off my entire college loan. I was like, okay, that's cool. But you do have to be careful, take steps. Don't give them information until you're fully, completely hired, because they're going to try to scam you. I had one time someone call me on a Sunday morning and asked me if I could do video editing for them, basically. And I was like, who is this? And it was through an application on, I think it was Indeed or whatever. And all they said, hey, it was, this is Austin. They didn't even say like what company they were with. They just said their name. And I had to ask them again later on through the call, like, who am I talking to? And so really be careful when you're applying to these kinds of things online, and don't get yourself stuck or scammed, that kind of thing.
Thank you so much, Evan. Yeah, I think it's really important to be safe and cautious, especially with all the virtual, like you never know who could be out there. Caroline, if you want to finish this off, that'd be super.
Yeah, I would just say be persistent and don't give up. Like I said, I've sent in so many applications and gotten so many rejections. It's ridiculous. Also just follow up, like Louisa was saying. One of the jobs I got offered, they didn't initially respond to my first one. The sending in the application was through an email rather than like an online thing. And they hadn't responded in like 2 weeks, but I really liked the job. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like send a follow-up email. And they ended up responding to me and giving to me like an interview. Especially since everything's online now and everything's busier, sometimes I think your application might get lost, just because I'm assuming they get hundreds and thousands of emails a day. So I would just like follow up on that. Yeah, I just really like, even if you aren't qualified 100%, I would still apply. A lot of people think that you need to be like you have to have all the requirements met. And honestly, I have sent in like applications for jobs that I don't fulfill the requirements and I've heard back. I just think that you shouldn't limit yourself just because you're missing like one or two things. Sometimes those things that you are missing, it's something that they can just teach you, or something if you tell them that like you're a very fast learner and you have proof or something like that, and they might just hire you anyway. So I don't think that you necessarily have to have everything. So just go for it. Honestly, I have gone for it way too many times and I have gotten rejected, and that's like fine. And also, I would recommend taking, if possible, taking a little break. COVID is exhausting and being indoors is exhausting and like whatever. And I currently work full time. So for full time is just kind of draining, to be honest. And I really did like the time that I was able to get off between studying for the MCAT and like doing this, just so that I could just breathe for a moment. I feel like sometimes we keep going and going without realizing that like we're also human. And I know that bills need to be paid and like other things, but just, I don't know, take some time for yourself as well while you're applying for jobs and stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I definitely think it's important to, take time for yourself with everything going on. I think we're going to move into a Q&A now. If anyone has any questions for the panelists or to Erica or to me, go ahead and drop them in the chat, or maybe just say them out loud.
Actually, I don't know. I think we have 4 minutes left. So perhaps we should wrap it up. Maybe just one question from the audience. We have one question already, and I'll ask, what is one key piece of skill that you say is crucial for your industry? And I'll let whoever wants to answer first go first.
I'll say something. I would say for me personally is throwing yourself out there and just talking. And I hate talking. I hate people. I just want to be alone in my room, do nothing all day in my bed, see no one, listen to no one, talk to no one, but it's important. Like the other day, I came back from a shoot I was doing sound for, and we were just talking about what a short film I did earlier that was going through film festival rounds, and it just happened that like a random AD in Santa Cruz was just here. AD is assistant director, if you guys don't know, and then we started talking with him because he heard my things about the festival rounds, and I think the Oscars were going on that night. So, yeah, just kind of be like, "Hi, I'm here. This is what I like." It's hard to do, but I think that's really important.
I just want to say, for me at least, customer service. Dealing with patients is really similar to customer service, especially when like occasionally like I answer phones, because it requires us dealing with like their medications and other things. Which is like, customer service is a job. I mean, it's just a skill that you can gain with literally any job. You could work in retail, food service, whatever. But at least in the medical field, I've really learned that like learning how to interact with patients is super similar to customer service, and a very, very important skill. At the sobriety clinic, like when I worked there, I had to be very cautious about certain things that I would say or like whatever, just because some of the patients were detoxing quite literally. And they would be dealing with symptoms, and so they weren't exactly the happiest patients, and so you kind of have to deal with that. And then with hospice, you go there, basically you have 6 months left to live, so the way that you speak with them is also like drastically different than like how you would speak with someone at a sobriety clinic. But it's also like another form of like communication. You just have to be very personal at the same time, with boundaries, but also just know how to speak. And I just think that with any job, communicating and reaching out is something, but with the medical field, I think that if you know how to interact appropriately with patients, they'll remember you and love you and then always ask for you back and stuff, because that happens as well. So yeah, customer service.
can go next. I would say for my field, which is ABA therapy again, the two main ones I would say are flexibility and problem solving. Flexibility because my company serves like a really wide range of ages. So we go from 3 to 17 and my client is 3. So I'm sure y'all can imagine that like things don't always go according to plan. And like, even though, yes, we have a schedule, yes, we have activities planned for session, no, they will not always happen. So just being able to work around that and like kind of explain to the parent and being like, or if the parent like suddenly wants to do something else, just being kind of compliant about it and being like, yeah, we can totally like do something else, whatever makes you comfortable, whatever makes like your side comfortable. So it really helps them and it really helps me to make sure that sessions don't rolls out really smoothly, even if we don't go according to plan. And then the second one was problem solving, which I actually have to thank being on Binding Hum Core for that one, because like things can always go wrong, and just being able to think off the top of your head is a really important skill. And I'm sure a lot of employers probably look for that because they want to find people who are able to find a solution as quick as possible.
I'll be very quick. I just agree with Carolyn. Just having a good attitude. People know that you're approachable and very open to learn and open to listen. Even though if you're not the best worker, don't have the best work ethic, at least people will like you. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, panelists. I really appreciate your time here today and sharing all of your words of wisdom for us graduating students. So thank you all again so much for taking the time out of your Wednesday to come speak with us and share your wisdom with us. So I want to also thank my co-moderator, Chloe. Thank you so much for being here on behalf of the Career Success team. Thank you, Angie, Joanna, and Tia for being behind the scenes. We appreciate your help and effort for this program today. And lastly, thank you so much to our audience for sticking around today. We do have a post-event survey that someone will drop in the chat a link to the survey. If you can please fill out that feedback form. Your feedback is very crucial to us for planning future events, and we'd really appreciate any and all feedback that you have. Even if you hated this event, please let us know so we can plan for future events. Yes, thank you again. And then finally, just some upcoming events on behalf of AAPIRC. We do have 2 things on the roster, namely this Friday, we will be hosting a conversation with Philip Wang from Wong Fu Productions, and that is open to all everyone, including UCSC alumni. So if any of our panelists here would like to attend that event, you're welcome to register. So we do have that this Friday, April 30th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I and Tia will be co-hosting that event. So I'm very, very excited to be at that event as well. And then finally, we have our year-end celebration, which will be taking place on June 11th. The time is still TBD because I have still yet to see the commencement times for graduation in June. So we are trying to plan around that. But if you haven't registered for that, the deadline is also this Friday. Please remember to register by Friday if you like free sashes and free stuff. So we are offering that to all of our registrants for our year-end celebration. And then Chloe, I'll pass it to you if there are any career success events that you would also like to plug.
We're basically done for the quarter mostly, but we still do have written feedback for any resumes or cover letters. If you guys would like to submit those, you just go to the Career Center, like just look up UCSC Career Center. You can totally look at your resumes or cover letters. We also do like mock interviews, or if you just want to talk to a career coach about like maybe you just want to change your major or just your job search, we can totally help with that. And we also have drop-in hours. You can just visit and then get any help with anything career related.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chloe, and thank you, panelists again. Thank you to everyone who is here today. If you need a recording of this event today for future purposes, we will be emailing that out after the event. Again, thank you all and have a great Wednesday night. Bye, everyone.